Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Boruto Manga chapter review. This one's going to be for chapter 16, which is called Vessel. Apologies straight away for not having this review out earlier. This month I just completely lost track of when the chapter is going to be released. Just because this whole monthly thing, as I've said before, not really the best way for them to put out the chapters, I think, just in terms of the content, the amount of content that we get, and then keeping track of the releases, especially when, more often than not, they've usually been like very delayed with the translations coming out, so it's definitely been weird, and I just completely lost track of this month's chapter. But overall, I thought it was a pretty solid chapter. As usual, it highlighted that it didn't feel like a month's worth of chapters. If we were getting like weekly chapters, it didn't feel like this was 4 weeks worth of that. And it really, again, just was like, okay, we're still building up, which it's felt like we've been building up to something for a while now. And it finally seems like maybe next month's chapter is finally going to really kick things off with how it ended. But I think it's one of those ones with this month's chapter where I liked the Boruto Naruto stuff. I liked the end. The first like 10 pages with the whole Kara meeting, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Not that I like disliked it, I just didn't know what to make of it, because this has like the proper introduction of this group with them like finally talking and stuff like that was just kind of like, okay, so you're just gonna really vaguely talk without really informing us about what you're really about, in that all you really get out of those first things is that, like, okay, within this group, later on it's revealed that they're all ninjas fundamentally. They maybe have a different kind of power that will maybe reveal at a later point, maybe connected to the tattoo stuff that we've seen before, but right now we don't really have any obvious connection for why that's the case. We know that there's this sense of like there's an inner group within Kara and then an outer group within Kara, and they're after this vessel which is going to is key to unlocking the thing that they're after, which again we're not really sure what it is. Is it the tattoo power or what? And then other than that, it's just like, okay, they all kind of wear masks, but not really. It's just a style thing that they seem to have. They talk about how, Momoshiki's arrival and what he did was it got in the way of their plans, and there's a sense that the younger members of the group are trying to get one over on the older members of the group, that the group is clearly trying to go in a different direction, which I think is what the scene afterwards with what was his name, Kajin Koji, with him taking out that older member. I thought it was a cool reveal that they kind of revealed that it was this kind of genjutsu kind of communication that they were doing, and the second that their communication ends, the elder's like, oh, I would have killed that guy if he was here in person for like talking over me like that. And then it turns out that he's right there in the room with him, and he just takes him out, hits him with a kunai, and then makes the kunai basically explode in what seems like this sort of really unique and special explosion fire style kind of jutsu thing. That basically he said, okay, you're known for having good regenerative abilities, but it's no match for the power of this kind of fire that I've just set you on. And so it was a pretty brutal killing of this kind of character. But again, I'm not really sure what it's meant to signify right now, because we don't really know enough about the group, what they're actually about. Whereas, the early stages of the Akatsuki were like, which is obviously this is very similar to, were like introduced to like one or two of the characters at the time. Like, oh, here's Itachi, he's a member of the group. Here's Kisame. And then later on, we get the introduction of the whole group, and we see like they were more kind of obvious because they were just like, they're a terrorist group at a base level, and then you get more of their kind of detailed stuff as you go through. These are kind of like, can you just say they're a terrorist? Like, we've never actually seen them like do anything just yet. But the reveal at the end that they were transporting the vessel, so they actually found the big thing that they were after that was like key to their organization, but they lost it, and they were here discussing basically how to handle that loss and this lack of communication, and basically the older members of the group kind of mishandling this sort of thing is kind of the problem. And the end, of course, implies that there was some sort of attack, or else the vessel broke out and killed everyone on this airship, leading to it crashing. And we clearly see that there's some sort of a like coffin type thing that this person, the vessel, was held in, and that's what Konohamaru and one of the other Konoha ninjas have found. The other thing with that is we get that the guy Kajin Koji, who killed the elder, he is like right there basically on the outskirts of Konoha, so he's like there and thereabouts. So there's this setup that perhaps, next month's chapter will involve Konohamaru and this other ninja fighting the vessel, and then maybe this member of the Kara will come in, and there'll be this kind of multi-layered fight going on. I think the big hope is that Konohamaru gets a really good showcase here. Maybe they'll kill off the other Konoha ninja to bring the stakes up and highlight how skilled Konohamaru is, or maybe they'll set up the other guy as like the kind of like the Genma of this kind of series, where like he's that Jonin you don't see too much, but he's actually really good. I'd like something along those lines, but I really want Konohamaru to be presented as like really strong, as someone who we kind of expect in a way maybe to be the next Hokage, kind of like if it goes kind of the way we'd expect, it would probably be that like Konohamaru is the Hokage for a little bit, and then Sarada takes over, is kind of what we think, suspect, kind of hope. Kind of in the same way of like, I can see maybe Konohamaru being like a Kakashi type Hokage, who's only really in play for a few years, rather than being a really long reigning Hokage. Not that many of them are, but something along those lines. So hopefully he gets a really good chance to shine. And the other section of this episode, which I thought was the best section of the episode, was that they just jump in. It's Naruto versus Boruto in a sparring match, which they later reveal is, from the adult's perspective, primarily to test this new ninja tech item, but for Boruto it's kind of also meant to be a test of how strong he's become. With perhaps the setup of like Sasuke maybe being involved in the test as well, that like he wants to test Boruto's power and see what this seal on his hand is about, and if anything has changed within Boruto. But the fight was actually really, really good, because you can tell how strong how skilled Boruto is, and how much he's developed since the movie, in that he's really able to like link his jutsu together really well. The water style combined with the lightning style was a perfect combination. Good use of shadow clones. He's kind of perfected his vanishing Rasengan ability. But it was also this amazing showcase of like, here's Naruto, clearly like he's better than Boruto, but here's Naruto showing some of the things that kind of we weren't aware that he could do. That like, okay, here's him using a earth style jutsu, which we've like never seen him use before, but he just does a solid basic earth style jutsu, punches through the wall. And then the whole unique thing about this fight is that Naruto's doing this thing that even though as powerful as he is, we've never seen him just absorb jutsu like he was doing in this fight. So it was really unique to see him just like swat the Rasengan away and it just disappears, and then kind of suck up a water style jutsu and lightning in his hand. But the reveal that like he had actually kind of detached his hand and was standing behind Boruto it was just a really cool thing within the fight. And he ends the fight by just kicking Boruto away. So, Boruto got a chance to shine and show like his jutsu combined, that he was maybe not like pushing Naruto to his limit, but at least challenged Naruto in the way that Naruto actually had to use a kind of quite clever and mischievous tactic in the fight to actually get the advantage over Boruto. And he praises him here, and Boruto's very happy to get that praise. But when the reveal comes out at the end that Naruto had actually replaced his hand with a ninja tool that was based off the Otsutsuki's power, Momoshiki's power of absorbing jutsu, Boruto's obviously rightfully upset, because Naruto basically scolded him in the movie very harshly for using a ninja tool. But I like that they present the idea, like, I think Shikamaru and Sasuke both bring up the point of just, like, you know, the whole point of this fight was to test this thing, and as Sasuke says, it's not just ninja tools are inherently bad, it's how you use them. And I suppose Naruto's point would also be, it's also when you use them. The Chunin exams is not about ninja tools, it's about pure skill. But if it was actually just a full-on fight for your life situation, then yeah, absolutely use ninja tools if you want to, because it's not this kind of competition that has rules to it. It's a fight for your life. And in that case, in a sparring match like this, where it is more about cleverness and so on, and testing something, that's the right place to use it. So I think that presents potentially an interesting dynamic going forward, in that we could see certain characters using ninja tech and tools more often, in that I can see a Denki, if like they properly have like Denki and Iwabe and introduce them into the manga, or the anime surpasses where the manga is and we get to that point. I can see Denki perhaps being a character who quite heavily uses ninja tech, and that kind of is his thing, that gives him a dynamic in battle. But you know, they're still kind of weird about what way the anime and the manga are connected. It's just that obviously the anime is taking its time to cover stuff before the movie, and then we'll probably eventually get the adaptations of where the manga has been. So yeah, I think that's more or less everything. Sasuke did make the big point at the end of kind of pointing out that the other thing we learned from the fight with the Otsutsuki was that there is still threats left in the world. And I suppose it was primarily meant to set up the idea that, oh, here's the Kara, which our heroes aren't aware of, but we as the audience are, and here's where the conflict's going to come into play. But yeah, overall, a good chapter, but I think the chapters continue to, I think, fail to impress as much as they could, because they're monthly chapters. There's so much more expected from each chapter because it's monthly, and I think most of the time it doesn't really deliver on the wait. That, like, we wait a month for each chapter, and it just stops short of being, like, brilliant. Thankfully, the last two times we've obviously been transitioning into, I suppose, the proper, you know, start of the series, and that's not just the initial opening stuff or the movie stuff. We're properly getting into, like, I think a big arc and where the series is actually going now, but it still feels very slow, and I think pretty much everyone who reads the Boruto manga and likes it to any sort of degree wishes we could go back to it being weekly, just because it would feel a little bit more fast paced. That you don't expect as much from the chapters because they're only weekly, and you know, you cover the same stuff, but it's better because we're getting it more regularly. So that continues to be one of the main complaints. The art this time I thought was overall good. Obviously a lot of new character designs being introduced here. The action and the fights and the kind of presentation of movement I think continues to be quite good. There's just a few little moments of just like Naruto's face looking a little bit weird, and like his face kind of blending into his neck at times. But for the most part fine. No real major issues with the art. I think it's been a while since I think it's one of those things where, like, about like 10-12 chapters ago, he sort of hit a solidity point of just like his art went from being the kind of shaky at the start to actually just being quite solid. And then, of course, not everyone's going to be a fan of the style. I like it, but obviously Kishimoto's style I think is better just objectively. But Ikemoto's style I think is fine, and some of the stuff he does very well. So there are my quick thoughts on the art. But yeah, that has been the review for Boruto Chapter 16. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the chapter, as well as what I had to say about it here. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.